Hello dear viewers of my channel. As you noticed lately I started to release very rarely. This is due to a lot of problems in life. But from now on I will try to please you with content as often as possible. So I hope for your support in the comments. Enjoy the show. In 2025 the Earth was invaded by extraterrestrial organisms, under the pressure of which people had to retreat. But in 2038 people were able to change everything. Thanks to a breakthrough in genetic engineering, modified soldiers were able to push back the enemy. In 2050 people had the opportunity to have enough points to get injection, thanks to which you can awaken superpowers, and it was at this point began the gene era. And here in 2137 the main character named Touei experienced a turning point in his life. He was on his way to the injection. On the way there he met holograms of heroes. The guy was well aware that the only way not to be at the bottom of society is to awaken superpowers. Every person from childhood goes through many lessons, and even to have a better body people were forced to undergo hellish training. And now after so many years of suffering, Touei was standing at the terminus. Guy's phone suddenly rang. He immediately picked up the phone, and it was his mother, who was very worried about her son. Because when you wake up there is a chance in 1% that a person simply die. The hero explained that at the stage where he is now, he simply cannot give up. He reassured his mother that there was only a 1% chance of death. There was a sound from the speakers, a voice saying that it was time for the students who had arrived at the revival to go inside. The boy immediately headed inside, while saying goodbye to his mom. Inside the building everything was done to the highest standard. Many young people were already dreaming of the abilities they could get today. The hero realized that absolutely all the guys were in a positive mood. He headed to the door with a security guard, then introduced himself and said that he was heading for a wake-up call. The system started checking the guy's identity, fingerprints, eye shells. Shu seemed to be worried. He couldn't imagine what type of gene he would get. There was a good inhibitive type that increased physical strength, but an exceptional type with superpowers also beckoned to the guy. But also he prayed that he would not get a strange ability. He dreamed of awakening something ordinary, like X-ray vision. He already imagined how with the help of this ability he could see girls' underwear. At that time in the corridor in the company of friends there was an argument. Some of them doubted whether it was worth it to ricochet. After all the chance of dying was about 1%. One of the friends reassured the guys, because the chance of success is as much as 99%. The guy still could not gather their will in a fist. The brave guy was called to give him an injection. Shu also hoped to successfully awaken the genes. Suddenly the guy reached the office. He took a breath, which is logical. He had been waiting so long for this day, then knocked on the door. But a moment later in the next room rumbled a huge explosion. Shu did not understand what had just happened, and began to feel a little nervous. At that time, a group of friends with all legs ran away, and their friend covered with flames and burned to the ground. The team of the institution immediately began to extinguish the guy. Using a fire extinguisher they managed to extinguish the fire. But of the young man, there is almost nothing left. It was another student who could not withstand the injection, and died from his own ability. The guy's friends were shocked and frightened, so they instantly dismissed the idea of waking up. At the same time, Shu was also frightened, because he could be the same fate. He was hesitant to go in, but his resolve was not easily broken and he went inside. All in the name of not becoming a scum. Suts introduced himself and explained that he had come for an awakening. The girl told the student in a sweet voice to come in. The boy went inside and saw an incredibly charming girl who said that before the procedure she would have to ask a few questions. She told about the chance of death during the procedure, and the hero was well aware of it and agreed to take responsibility for all the consequences on himself. The girl took the sphere and then asked if the guy was willing to take the risk to awaken his genes. Shu was a little hesitant, because just a few minutes ago he saw the death of one of the people. Shu said in a confident voice that he was sure of his choice. And then the nice girl said that the guy would take off his pants. It seemed that Shu did not understand why to do this, but the beauty explained that for the best effect of the injection is done in the femoral artery. After that the guy embarrassingly exposed his ass, and seeing the huge needle begged the girl to be gentler with him. After that, a soul-shattering scream came from the room. The girl said that the drug had been injected and had already spread throughout his body, and then asked Shu if he felt anything, but he felt absolutely nothing. 10 minutes passed, and from the girl's mouth sounded the same question, and the answer remained the same, which made the guy worried, because it is possible that Shu still cannot wake up. After 30 minutes, the girl was surprised that during the observation of the guy no changes were detected. She first encountered something like this, then asked Shu to stand up, and touched his shoulder. The hero was very sad that most likely he is destined to become garbage. But just a moment later his body was seized by a terrible pain. He began to fall parallelly screaming with unbearable pain. Shu did not understand what was happening. He felt as if his head was about to burst. He screamed in pain. At that time the girl came closer and was shocked. The pulse of the guy was off the scale, and his temperature rose to 50 degrees. At that time Shu seemed to have already accepted the fact that he was dying, but still in his eyes read pain and disappointment from this outcome of events. Shu was surrounded by darkness, which led him to think that he had died. But a moment later he saw a huge meditating image in front of him. It seems that the guy could not realize what it is, and why he was in this place. Looking closely at the hero came to the realization that in front of him a huge version of himself. He saw strange things around his image, and suddenly his body was pierced by a current, and Shu instantly woke up. The girl noted that the student regained consciousness after the first discharge. The hero asked what happened, while the girl told the guy that his body awakened as many as 14 hidden genomes. Shu was overjoyed, because he received as many as 14 and not ordinary genomes. The girl instantly crushed the guy's hopes by telling him that all of them belonged to the erudition class. She held out the last form. At that time, the hero couldn't believe that all 14 talents were erudition. He didn't want to work as an ordinary office worker. The girl said that if the guy still had questions, he could easily read everything in her report. Shu asked about his powers, and she explained that it wouldn't be long before he knew if he had any. Shu seemed to be ready for such an answer, so the girl took out her business card and told him to contact her in case of any problems. The guy began to scrutinize the card. His surprise was not limited, because the young and beautiful girl next to her was already a professor. He could not even imagine that there are such young professors. Shu said goodbye to the girl, and was about to leave. As soon as he went to the door to leave the room, behind his back sounded the girl's voice. He asked what exactly she wanted to say. She decided to pre-read video guy that he would not be caught in the eyes of the redemption of Dawn. Shu didn't seem to understand anything, but he had heard of such an organization. It was a group of people who betrayed humanity and joined the ranks of the invaders. It was because of this group that humanity had suffered huge losses in the past 100 years. The girl said that they often steal people for experiments, and about 5 students had already been kidnapped. Shu thanked the beautiful girl for her advice. After a while, Shu walked down the street and thought about what skill he had. The guy began to remember the image that he saw after losing consciousness, but thinking was stopped by a pain in the head. The hero was approached by an unknown guy. It turned out that it was Chenmo and Tangting. They were the hero's classmates. Tangting asked how many genes Shu had awakened. It turned out that Chen awakened 11 genes, but they were all in the stomach. The guy was crying, because he really has the potential to become a fat king. A friend was supporting the guy, or rather teasing him about becoming the first ever transmutant glutton. The guy was furious at such a joke, and took his own on a painful tack. He asked how many genes Shu had awakened. He admitted that he had managed to awaken 14 secret genes. The friend seemed shocked by such information. The guys could not believe it, because in their city, few people were able to awaken 10 genes, and Shu as many as 14. The hero decided to bombard his friends with words about having a class erudition. The guys were shocked doubly. It turned out that such a class is incredibly difficult to develop, and it is difficult to find a robot. The friend told about his relative, who had to change 7 jobs, after which he became a monk. Such prospects very upset the hero. The guy was upset with his class, also because he had a hidden type. He could not even imagine what abilities he had. The guy decided to contact a university professor to get help. A classmate suggested going out for a snack, explaining that thinking too much was bad for him. Shu told him that he had a headache, and for that reason he refused the offer. The guy seemed worried about the protagonist. After a while, Shu was walking down a noisy street, where there was a lot of noise and news on every corner. The guy walked without expressing any emotions, but he was incredibly worried about the pain in his head. They literally drove him crazy. Suddenly the guy had an epiphany. It seemed like he could feel the ability. It was as if his perception had improved many times over. He could feel everything around him. He could sense what people were doing behind the walls, even the location and number of things. Even through several walls he could sense people, and even small objects. Shu decided to try one more time. The guy realized that this was his limit now. Shu decided to head home, and continue there. Suddenly he had a very strange feeling, as if every cell of his body was trying to tell him something. At that time, behind his back, behind the wall hid a man who was very closely following Shu. The hero was followed by a group of people. The guy felt it very well and tried to be on the lookout. Shu assumed that the mysterious pursuers were people from the Dawn Redemption organization. Shu pondered over the how to act. To call the police is a stupid decision. If he makes a mistake now, he will suffer, or even die. Suddenly the hero came to the epiphany, because recently the professor gave him a business card. The hero decided to call her and spend the night at the police station, until the situation with the persecution is not settled. At that time in the building of the City Hall, Jincheng held a meeting at which the commander of the officers of the City Hall, he demanded a report on all students, as well as warned that anyone who disobeys this order will be punished. Suddenly the professor's phone rang, which surprised her. She apologized and asked if she could interrupt him. She told about Shui and his current situation. The commander asked a question to his employee, and he instantly began to review some information. This person told the professor that next to the hero there are proven people and there is nothing to worry about. The girl asked why to send 3 people for 1 student. The guy started to tell about the Janelle plan, but after a moment he realized that they sent only 2 people. The girl instantly suggested that they should start taking action. She asked if the guys would send someone or if she should go herself. The guy said that 2 people would be enough to protect the student. The girl was beyond angry. How dare they risk the student's life? The precursor said that the guy was the perfect bait, since he had a useless class and had as many as 14 hidden genes. The girl was just furious about such a decision. At that time the head intervened and said that it was his personal order. He said that he did it in order to catch the members of the organization and in the future to protect the students. The girl tried to prove that it was a dangerous idea, because at any moment something could go wrong. The head explained that even if the bait died the plan would be fulfilled, and it was all taken into account. The girl, listening to all this nonsense, began to chicken out. She realized that it was useless to explain something and hurried to get away from this event. The head was furious at the girl's behavior. One of the guys tried to stop the girl, threatening that because of her actions she could go to court. The girl said she wouldn't do anything, but definitely warned Shuya about what was going on here. The head accepted that the girl would tell everything to the student, but also added that she would in no way reveal the plan. The guy reminded the girl that the student should not know about the plan. At that time, the hero finally received an answer, which was extremely happy. Shu realized that the 2 agents were guarding him while the 3rd stalker was the enemy. Shu began to think about why they do nothing if they know that he is in danger. The only option that came to his mind was right. He was just a decoy. The hero decided to pretend as if he did not notice anything, and went to a place. The girl brought the young man and asked him what he wanted. The hero stood in place and thought about what to order. The girl asked if the guy had chosen something, and Shu asked for 1 cup of tea, after which the girl handed a cup of tea to the hero, and he left the establishment, where the very strange man was waiting for him. Shu continued to walk in an unknown direction, and the strange man followed him on his heels. The hero could not contain his emotions. He grabbed the cup, then sharply developed, and splashed boiling water straight into the face of his enemy. The man didn't seem to expect his pursuit to be noticed, and didn't have time to react to such a surprise. The enemy was out of anger. He immediately went to attack the hero, saying that if it is impossible to take alive, it is worth taking dead. Shu was in a dangerous situation, because he did not have any fighting skills. The enemy kicked directly at the body of the hero, from which he flew off and slammed into the window. Shu assumed that the enemy's genes were centered in his legs, and he had a lot of strength. Shu started shouting that the guy was a member of the Dawn Redemption organization, and told the Secret Service agents to arrest him. As soon as the common people heard this, they started to run away with all their might, as they were very scared. At that time the agents were amazed that the kid had discovered them, and looking closely they saw the enemy. The enemy mocked the agent, saying that 2 of them would not be enough to fight him. Between the guys began a battle. Many blows flew in both sides. Shu was shocked by the ability of the enemy. He single-handedly cramped the 2 agents. The enemy struck a serious blow directly on the face of one of the agents. Shu began to think about a way to help the agents, because if this continues they all end. Suddenly, the hero again began to have headaches. His body began to hurt very badly. The guy was incredibly annoyed that he cannot help anyone, because he is a regular polymath. Shu found himself back in the place where his image was. Now he clearly realized that all these dots were his genes, while the grey dots in the hero's body were genes that had not yet been awakened. The guy was shocked, because now he could see the structure of his body. He assumed that this was his ability. He perfectly saw the flow of energy in his body. The guy decided to immediately try to take control of it, and it all bore fruit and there was a result. Shu decided to use energy to open the blocked point. He does not have time to train for a long time, or take expensive drugs. That's why he forcibly used energy to open the point, and he succeeded. At that time, in reality, the tough enemy missed a blow from the agent, right in his stomach. There was no look of despair on his face. It was as if he was just playing around. He delivered a crushing blow with his foot, and the two agents were defeated in the blink of an eye. The enemy decided to finish off Shu. He approached and with the words that no one could save the guy, began to reach out his hand. Suddenly, Shu opened his eyes, which surprised the enemy, and the hero immediately attacked the stomach of the enemy, from which he coughed blood and flew a decent distance, and then slammed into the wall, leaving a large trace. The agents watching the blow were amazed at the strength of an ordinary student, while the enemy couldn't move his arms, and the agents took advantage of the situation to quickly twist the enemy. At that time, the girl at the meeting was visibly worried about the hero, because he still has not written to her, although a lot of time has passed. Suddenly the guy received a phone call. Hearing the information, he was just shocked. The commander was interested in what happened. He began to talk about Shuya, and without letting him finish, the commander yelled at the guy, saying that his people are incompetent. But he explained that the student not only did not suffer but also contributed to the victory over the enemy. It turns out that the townspeople know that it was a man from the organization. Now the plan to catch them all was definitely failed, because now they will not stick out. The commander asked who told the information to the student. Looking directly into the girl's eyes, she offered to check her communication devices right away. She was shocked that Shu could think of such a thing on his own. The commander seemed to be out of anger. He ordered his man to investigate immediately, and said he was expecting a report soon. At that time in the Secret Service building, a group of people were moving along the corridor. It turns out that the attacker had a rank E, while the others only had ranks. The guys were thinking about how the student was able to strike that blow. Seeing the hero, they were a little shocked. It turns out that he immediately said that he was hungry, and then began to devour a huge amount of food. The guy realized that such an awakening point causes not only pain, but physical suffering. The hero also realized that under no torture he could not reveal the possibilities of his ability. Shu began to tell a plausible story about how he realized that the enemy was a member of the organization. The investigator said that he was ashamed of the agents who could do nothing at such a moment. The guy looked at the hero and realized that he definitely had potential. Shu thanked him for the compliment and asked when he would be allowed to go home. The guy asked Shu to sign a non-disclosure contract and promised 6 points and 50,000 in cash as a reward. Shu was happy to be given most of the reward. The guy said that Shu's victory was amazing, while the protagonist asked if he would continue to be used as a decoy. The investigator didn't seem to have expected such a thing, and said that even though the students with more genes were assigned security guards, they were all captured. In the end, the investigator said that he had said too much and went about his business. A little later, Shu was on the phone with the professor. He had already applied to her university. He also said that he would continue to be used as bait to keep gifted students away. The girl confirmed the words of the guy. Shu was nervous, because if his opponent took him seriously he would not have a chance. Now the hero was determined to become much stronger, because in front of him awaits a very hard work. At that time, inside the hall of the Secret Service, a huge number of unknown symbols appeared on the monitor screen. 3 days had passed since that incident, and at the boy's house, his mom was happy that a letter from the university had arrived. Shu did not look very good. It seemed that he was very thin. The guy started eating lunch. He ate very furiously while his parents couldn't believe what they were seeing. Shu opened another point, which caused his body to become exhausted and so overloaded that he lost consciousness. But the worst part for the guy was that the effect was nil. Shu was determined to get a lot of information at the university and definitely become stronger. His father began to teach the hero that he would not engage in obscenities at night so often, because the body is then exhausted. The guy tried to justify himself, because he did not do anything like that. His father held out a box. He said it was a gift from his mom. It turned out that inside the box were energy capsules. The boy seemed to be shocked. After all, these were ranky energy capsules. Most ordinary people couldn't afford a capsule. The guy couldn't accept such a valuable gift, but his parents weren't going to take it for themselves. It turned out that his parents were saving up money despite their low salaries. Such behavior really touched Shuya. A little later it was night outside. Shu inside his room began to meditate. He immersed himself, and then again found himself near his huge image. The guy started to look at the image carefully. Then he started to manipulate the energy. The guy concentrated too much energy and it felt like his leg was going to explode. He started to distribute the energy and finally another point was opened. He ended up being thrown out of that space. Now he finally managed to awaken 2 gene points, but his body started to hurt a lot. The capsule only restores energy, but not the body. The guy decided to start training his mind. After a while he heard his mother's voice, and then he instantly jumped up from the bed. From surprise and great force he hit his head on the ceiling and fell down, attracting the attention of his parents. The boy said he was all right, and was glad that his leg strength had been increased. The parents ran into the guy's room, as they were very worried about their son, but the picture they saw shocked them. The guy's body was incredibly beautiful and pumped up, which made the parents scrutinize every muscle. Guys, thank you all very much for watching this video. I hope you liked it and you will support me with a like and comment. Glad to have tried. See you later.